afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sticking around. We're going to get started just now. Thank you all for coming. It's really a real pleasure for me to be hosting the next 3 sessions. We're going to be doing 3 more informal. Hopefully we're going to go deep with 3 wonderful sessions. The first one, we've got the people from Ajax and Guangzhou RNF. Next up, we've got Ruben from Bayern. And finally, we're going to wrap up a great conversation with the people at Wanda and Atletico Madrid. So if you'll, I'll just kick off welcome the first panelist to the stage. If I could just welcome Ed Engelkus from Guangzhou RNF FC, the technical director. Next up, we've got Corné Kurendijk from the AFC Ajax, the manager Ajax Coaching Academy. Hope I got his name right. And we've got Hong Yo-Chang from RNF Guangzhou FC Vice President. Please welcome. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you feeling? You happy to be here at SoccerX?
Great to be here.
Yeah. So just to give everyone some background, you now live in China.
I am.
And you've been there for how long now? You've now based in the Guangdong province.
Just a few days, but we went here in January already, so
okay.
We come back because of the visa.
Right.
It's quite a problem.
Okay. Have you sorted out your visa issues?
Yeah, it's solved.
Yeah. You're not the only foreigner in China to have visa issues. But I hope that's all worked out for you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So let's just help everyone understand, how did this partnership come about? You formed an official partnership with Guangzhou RNF to form a professional youth academy in China. How did this partnership come about? I might pass that over to you, Corné.
Yeah. We've been in touch with China for a long time now. We have been visiting the Chinese football market. We've been here with our CEO, Edwin van der Sar, for many times. And then we have been speaking to Chinese possible partners, and we've been, RNF also connected to us. They've asked us a few questions. We've answered those questions, started to visit each other, and the relationship grew from there, leading into a partnership. Yeah, it's
right.
a 2-year process, I guess.
Okay, so it was about 2 years to form the partnership for your first meeting.
Yes, the first time RNF came to Amsterdam, they asked us, could they buy a new striker like Patrick Kluivert?
Right.
And that was the first contact, and after that we started talking about youth development and creating our own Patrick Kluivert and talking more about youth development.
Right, and how much baijiu did you have to consume to complete this deal?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit?
Yeah, but that's more Ed's business. He's very good.
And Ed, I hear you do enjoy that.
I'm from the KTV. No,
yeah,
already.
KTV, okay. We're not going to talk about KTV today. So, Hong, I'd like to ask you a question. Obviously, it's a great privilege to work with a global football property like Ajax. What was it about their training philosophy or youth academy approach that drew you to this particular partnership?
因为在我们的心目中呢，阿贾克斯是全球最伟大的一个俱乐部，没有第二个，并且他们的青训在历史上还有在现在全球范围上，我们认为是最棒的。他们有最好的青训学院、最好的体系，还有最好的教练员啊，包括我们的技术总监啊，还有他们很多传奇球星退役以后都愿意回到阿贾克斯的大家庭里面去从教，所以我们非常认可，所以我们就跟阿贾克斯展开了全面的合作。
Okay, that's great. I know many of you are not listening to the translation, but Hong talked about the great philosophy that they discovered when they did their research particularly through Europe. And Corné, you were saying that when Guangzhou RNF made their trip to Europe, they visited many other football clubs, and you were just one of the clubs on that journey.
Yeah, so it was good for us and nice to see that Mr. Hong and his staff did not only take connection with Ajax for our brand. They really did their research, visited a lot of clubs, spoke to us for quite a few times, and then made a choice to cooperate with us. And for us, it's the same. We've also made a choice not to cooperate in any which way the opportunity came to us. We've really made a strong choice to connect to RNF to make a long-term commitment to Chinese football and not to be here for the short term.
Great. And so, Ed, given your limited experience in China, you've made a personal commitment to the market to come and spend and immerse yourself here in the market. What are some of the early signs that you're seeing that you hope will make the partnership great?
I think one of the most important things will be also the development not only of the players, but also the development of our coaches. Because when you talk about structure, in Holland we are very used to some structure in coaching, but also in developing players. And that will be our main challenge, I think, because it also had something to do with mindset. And the coaches are educated, but we need to influence them with our way of play, our style.
How would you describe the mindset today, and how would you describe the mindset where you want it to be in 5 years?
I want them to think themselves, not only the players but also the coaches. So we're trying to give them a sort of coaching education, which started with watching a game, reading a game, and then translated to a training session, and afterwards translated again to the game again. And the result of the game is not the most important thing, because you don't have to learn players why you play. They always want to win a game. But for our coaches, the most important thing must be that they giving the results back to the development. The players must become better during the time of years.
Right. Corner, you were talking, yeah, sure.
I think it's really important for the Chinese football market as an industry that the fact that there is it's not a lack of history, but there is less history than we have, for example, in our 120 years in Ajax. So it's quite important to build a legacy, to build a history of coaching. So to be able to understand the coach's job towards children, it's important that we emphasize the role of that coaches play. And in our environment in the Netherlands or in Europe in general, it's much easier because a lot of people that coach in football come from football. So we think it's quite important that we take our time to emphasize, educate coaches, and to get a good understanding of what we try to do on the long term rather than on the short term.
Right. Mr. Hong, do you see this academy approach growing in other cities under Guangzhou RNF? Do you want, is it just one facility that you have planned? Do you have more facilities planned?
在前天，在我们足校的总部，就是广东省的中国的足球之乡梅州市，我们学校的总部就在梅州市。前天我们和长沙市共同签约，在长沙市合办了一个分校。那么未来我们会以这种模式，把富力和阿贾克斯的青训理念会逐步的在全中国去推广。这个我们未来的计划，也是我们跟阿贾克斯在一直探讨的过程中，我们大家一起认为，阿贾克斯进来跟富力合作，不仅仅限于跟富力一家，那么我们要通过富力来把整个中国的足球水平把它推动上去。
Okay, great. Ed, just on that, how, as a foreigner coming into this market, I imagine your Chinese is not great. Your English is good.
Not yet.
How do you see your ability to communicate with the young players? Do they speak English? You have a full-time translator by your side?
Yeah. That's one of the challenges also, but in football you speak the same language normally. So you can also show them some videos or give an example, and children will understand. But you first have to know what's the meaning of the example you give them. We can send over everything in exercises to the coaches, but if they don't understand what they are doing, then they say the wrong thing to the children. So we need to make sure that the language, the way of looking, but also of speaking about football is the same.
And how many children do you have in the academy now?
Around 327.
And what do you expect that to grow to over the next 5 years? Do you have a top line number?
No, we didn't spoke about that because we just spoke about the composition of the teams.
Right.
I think it must be, maybe we have to increase instead of extend because you want to have the best players with each other. And now it's more average with players which are quite good and the best don't develop them. So we have to bring the best together and the average has to come on the second place.
Right. So I'm just going to switch it to the business side of the football club. This is a different strategy for a global football team coming into the market with a major strategic partnership at the youth level. Is this the cornerstone to your China entry strategy from a club perspective in terms of growing your brand and your marketing and your footprint?
Yes. For us, it's Ajax as a brand is still very much alive in the global football market, and our youth academy is doing very well. We're a top 5 youth academy. We've been delivering players over the last 60 years. So I think that's a strategy that has worked for us. Now to be able to promote that into the global football market is a new choice we've made. We've done it in Amsterdam, but we're also running into the business ceilings of our model. So the sponsor market in the Netherlands, the spectator market, it's all full. And we also have to be able to keep our global name alive. So we want to expand more globally, but we do it from a very content-driven perspective. So it's not to put our name out into the market as much as we can. Like you said, the cornerstone, we want to do this very well, do the RNF partnership as good as we can, and from there grow our brand. And we want to do this in more places. We've been in Cape Town for many years. We've signed a partnership in Japan and one in Australia with Sydney FC and Sagan Tosu. We want to be very specific about the partners that we choose.
So is it fair to say then this academy strategy is a revenue driver? You're going to grow your business in this market through that?
Yeah. There's 2 ways to grow this model. We, on the one hand, feel that to work with a top-level academy like Ajax, this is a value in itself, and that's also been proven by the business model that we've put out there. On the other hand, we also hope, of course, for us it would be a fantastic dream if every 2 years or every 3 years, one player, a Chinese young man, can make his debut in Amsterdam and open up the China-Europe pathway for players to make their way into the European top football.
Right.
But the first goal is to develop players for the RNF first team, but to make a cooperation in which, from our side, you can imagine if we have one player from Cape Town, one from Japan, one from Australia, and we can therefore grow our global identity, it would be fantastic for business and for the content of the game as well.
Right. So Ed, I might talk a little bit about the state of youth football in China then today, given your professional observations. How far away are we in China from a very well-developed youth football academy ecosystem and quality compared to Europe or even Ajax?
Let's say we have a long way to go here.
What are we talking about?
I think the country is that big that we have problems with the infrastructure. So when you don't have good competition structure, like we have in Holland, because we are a small country, children can play on every corner with every club. And here, the first month I was here and I made an inventarization, it's quite difficult to get a good view of the landscape, of the football landscape, because there are that many development schools and schools which are having players who are studying there. So I think we need more time than people are thinking. We have a partnership for 5 years now. Maybe we must extend that, and that's also in the contract. So it's what Corné mentioned already.
So what then, from a training point of view, what technical aspect are you looking to fix? What's the lowest hanging fruit opportunity that you believe you can get right within the youth academy system that you're working on now? What's an opportunity?
I talked already about structure, but it's also about insight in the game and decision making. When children are deciding themselves instead of doing the things because the coach is saying it, then we're coming much more closer to the European way of play, maybe to the world top level,
right?
I must say.
Right. Hong, I'd like to ask you, from what you've seen in the early part of this partnership, what is it that you're enjoying, or what are some of the signs that you're most happy with now?
第一个最高兴的就是埃尔克斯，包括从他的高层范德萨到我们科内尔还有我们的总监，他们非常有诚意，非常愿意去帮助我们中国足球的一个提升。这个我可以从他们的眼神、他们的肢体语言可以感受到，他们非常迫切来帮助我们，这个我是非常高兴的。那么其次呢，他们愿意把阿雅克斯成功的经验全部复制到我们中国，并且还会根据我们中国的实际情况会进行调整，这个也是我们两家达成合作的一个基础。OK.
Right. Corner, do you have anything to add to what they're experiencing now? Is this where do you see it playing out over the next 6 months? What are your short-term goals at your level?
So it's nice to hear that at least the way we feel has been received by Mr. Hong and his people as it is. We are sincere about our goals, and in 5 years' time, or maybe longer, depending on how things go, we do hope to have youth players making their debut in the RNF first team. That's our further away goal. First goal now is to show our commitment, to have Ed start his coaching classes, to have children develop, to talk about football structures within the club but also in the region, to have a overview, and that's I think one of the biggest goals we have. We don't want to be able to, we don't only want to put a coach on in front of a group of kids, we want to be involved in the full system. How can we integrate the school system as much as possible with the football system? How can we integrate coaching classes, taking into the consideration the local structures and cultures, but also bringing our quality onto the table, and how can we make this work? So the first, I think, challenge that Ed and Mr. Hong have is to really find each other on a daily level of commitment, of making choices on a daily basis. How do we help children to be better football players today? What can we do today to make it better tomorrow?
Ed, I might ask you this question. Last night we were talking at the drinks about what role can Ajax play or this partnership play at developing parents. And in China, I mean, I've got two young kids, and I didn't grow up playing football. I played the real football, Australian rules football, and so for me, it's challenging for me to understand how to play football with my son at home and then play a bit more. Do you have a plan to engage parents of the children? And how important is it that the parents know how to play football with their children, and that the community have space that they can play football in the parks, and football becomes a lot more part of their life, not just structured football on the pitch, but in their home? And
I think we must involve the parents, of course, because they're part of the deal. But for us, it's more important that we are working with the kids on a daily basis on several surfaces. So we're trying to improve the academy as we have now, with some beach pitches, with some grass pitches, with some artificial pitches, with some concrete pitches. Train with different balls, smaller, bigger, bouncing ones. So they have to adjust every time. But first of all, we need to explain to the parents why we are doing it. Because when they understand why their son is over there to become a professional player, instead of going to school only, now they want to become a professional player. Otherwise, you don't have to be there. You must search for another school. We have to turn it a bit from studying to more football. And that we need each other for. because I cannot do it by myself. I need Mr. Hong for that, because we also demand some more training hours for them. We want to train more with the older groups, 2 times on a maybe 3-time base in a week. We want to increase the training hours to give better quality. Now they're standing on the pitch for 2 hours, and if you know the temperatures in Guangzhou, it's really hot. So we have to increase it, but bring intensity up. The duration must go down, but the intensity must go up. All those kind of things, which will also we must also influence the coaches by that, because now it's normal that they train 2 hours on a day, because it's sad. We are saying we're not doing it anymore. So that's quite a shock for them, and they have to adjust also. So it's the coaches, it's the parents, it's the players. So it's all together, and I have to talk a lot with Mr. Hong about it.
Yeah. And the deal is a 5-year plus a 5-year term. What does success look like after the first 5 years? What are you looking for, Cornet, in this deal, for it to continue on?
Highest goal being a youth player from the academy making his debut in the RNF first team. That would be the highest goal. The Chinese football market in itself is very tense. There's a high pressure on quality development, and I think there's a lot of pressure on top-level clubs. Also business-wise, the money that has to be spent on good players for the first team, that's where we really want to make a difference. So hopefully a youth player will make his debut in the first team. Yeah. It's not a set goal in the contract, so there's another 5 years if we let a player make his debut. But I do hope that we will have an academy that has a full year-round football atmosphere. Study and sports go very well together. There's coaches transforming themselves into international coaching staff. So we are very ambitious. We are integrating Chinese lessons for our coaches. Ed is taking his people to the Chinese lessons. We're integrating English lessons to the players and coaches from the China part. So I think this would be the goal, to have an overall integration of our both philosophies, the local culture and system of Chinese football, plus the Ajax philosophy and quality that we believe we can bring to the table.
Okay, great. And so just one last question for a bit of fun. Mr. Hong, when are we going to see China win a World Cup? I already warned him on this too, so.
我认为中国什么时候举办世界杯就能够拿到世界杯。
Up to the football gods, I believe. Okay, I want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our panelists. You guys can go take a seat. Thank you very much.